relative to early literacy.
Thank you. Representative Hughes, on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I know we have to get to the floor shortly, so I'll be as brief as possible. Members, I bring to you House Bill 911, which is part of a package of literacy bills. I think each of you consistently hear me talking about the literacy crisis in our state. House Bill 911 is actually the nucleus of our package of literacy bills. It's appropriate that this bill number is 911 because it really speaks to the urgency, the emergency that we're facing. Also today, for those of you who remember Michael Willis, I know Representative Edmonds does because he and I work so closely with him, and I know others of you do as well. Today is the 1-year anniversary of his death. So it's very appropriate that we would hear this bill today. And should you decide to advance this bill, I'm in discussions and look forward to working with Representative Edmonds and others to actually name this act in Michael Willis's honor. He was actually the one that lit the fire under me and why I became so passionate about this topic. Really briefly, Mr. Chairman, I won't go into the policy aspects too deep. I'll just touch on it. This bill did pass House Education unanimously and gained several Democratic and Republican co-authors. In essence, what this bill will do, it will have 3 screeners in grades K through 3. We'll assess students 3 times throughout the year to assess where they are with regard to their grade level reading. There are parental notifications embedded in this bill, comprehensive interventions, individual reading plans, literacy coaches, which is critically important, and summer reading camps. The big question becomes, how do we pay for it? Really briefly, the Department of Education has done a good job at putting together a portal with regard to the federal funds that our state has received. They did this in the interest of transparency. And it really goes at the heart of the bill that we'll hear on the floor by Representative Edmonds this afternoon, speaking about transparency with respect to our school boards. What the department has done is they've allowed us to track federal funding. In Louisiana, we were infused with $4 billion of federal funds. We have the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. $3.2 billion was infused in that fund, and to date, only out of the $3.2 billion, only $529 million has been spent. So we still have several $1 billion sitting in that fund. To put it into further perspective, there are several uses of those federal funds. Additional learning time, for example, $50 million budgeted, only $13 million spent, 36.87 remaining. Professional development, $80 million budgeted, 13.4 million spent, 67.34 remaining. Tutoring, 97.34 million budgeted, 8.7 spent, $88 million remaining. So in closing, I'll just tell you what Florida and Mississippi did. They reprioritized existing funds. And some examples of that, in Florida, they reprioritized federal money. $1.6 million in discretionary funding. By reprioritizing federal money, they were able to leverage additional federal dollars. Mississippi did the same thing, and they also reprioritized Title I, Title II, and Title III dollars. So the bottom line is money exists. These federal funds have to be spent by 2024. And between now and 2024, when those funds expire, we can come up with a more comprehensive plan on how we can repurpose and rededicate existing funding. The bottom line is, members, when people say, can we afford to pay for this? The crisis is just so great. We can't afford not to pay for this. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Representative Hughes. A question from Representative Dubuisson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's not a question, but just to say that at the appropriate time, I'd like to move favorably on this bill. And I'm so appreciative that you're bringing it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Okay, thank you, Representative Dubuisson. And we do have an amendment. Would you like to take up the amendment to put it in proper posture? Okay, Ms. Stepp?
This is set number 4403. It's been handed out and it's available online. These are technical amendments, finishing some changes that were implemented by the Education Committee. Two of the terms just got missed when the change was made from assessment to screener.
Yeah, we're just making assessments to screener uniform throughout the bill. That's all this does. And I'll offer that up, Chairman.
Okay, Representative Hughes offers up that amendment. Is there any objection to that motion? Hearing or seeing none, that amendment is adopted. Question on the bill, Representative Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only regret is that I didn't author this bill. This represents, does it not, a strategic change in finding, identifying our children before it's too late. They've already tested, and then we're behind the curve, so to speak.
Absolutely, to identify as early as possible.
So if we can get them in certain cases screened outside of a classroom, coached up, back up, it should put them back. And we talk about bills being in proper posture. The goal and idea, I believe I'm correct, I don't want you to answer, but would be able to position or reposture the child back in a framework of positively moving forward, whether it's in whatever area, but in this particular case, literacy and reading.
Absolutely, and if you recall, Chairman Edmonds, Representative Nelson's bill that would retain a student in third grade if they're not on grade level. What this bill seeks to do is render Representative Nelson's bill obsolete, because hopefully we will catch these students early as possible, and by the time they get to third grade, they'll actually be on grade level.
I'm assuming that the department doesn't have any resistance with this. It is a strategic change, but it is one that it's a must.
No, absolutely not. There have been no reservations, no resistance.
Yeah, and by the way, I do appreciate you bringing up Michael, and we miss him greatly. What an excellent young man. We thank you for that. And I hope it does work out that we could do this in his honor. What a great tribute to his family as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Representative Hughes.
Thank
I'm
you,
very
Chair.
grateful for your work.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Week for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Hughes, for your continued efforts in this regard. I'm just trying to understand the fiscal note here. And so we're collectively looking at several federal sources that will offset some of the cost, is what I'm reading. And then it's saying that the remaining will be filtered to the local school districts. And if I'm reading the last sentence there correctly, no state effort. Is that correct? So the funding for the additional coaches are going to be federal and local, no state effort.
That's pretty much correct. But at the end of the day, the local portion can absolutely be absorbed by the federal dollars that have been infused directly to local school districts. So the federal dollars that are referenced in the fiscal note are separate from the federal dollars that the local school districts are currently sitting on. And one thing that this portal will show you, it's broken down by each school district. Most of our school districts across the state are still sitting on millions and millions of dollars that have to be spent by 2024 that would allow them to use dollars for this purpose.
I guess that's kind of what's running through my mind here. If a school system has already committed their federal dollars to other things, they would have to make a decision where those federal dollars would be redirected, I'm assuming. And if they want to do all, then they would just have to come out of their own individual school district projects to make this happen.
Yeah, well, we're already in 2022, and when you look at the substantial dollars that are still remaining, I have a hard time believing that every dollar through 2024 has already been earmarked, because it's just such a substantial amount of money.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Wheat. Okay, there are no additional questions. We do have several cards in support. Caleb Moore, American Federation of Children. Terrence Lockett, Education Reform. Cindy Bishop, Checkmate Strategy. John Weibel, Center for Literacy and Learning. Eric McVicker, the Center for Literacy and Learning. Tom Costanza, Louisiana Conference of Catholic Bishops. Dr. Evan Bentley, Pelican Institute, Barry Irwin Cable. Bridget Nealon, Stand for Children. Lauren Gleason, Louisiana Association Lobby. Tally Medina, SPCC Action Fund, Rodney Braxton, SPLC Action Fund, and Peter Wagner, GNO Inc. Okay, members. Okay. What, I thought Representative, did you make a motion?
Dubuisson made the initial.
That's what I thought, Representative Dubuisson. Representative Dubuisson has made a motion to report HB 911 as amended. Is there any objection to that motion? Hearing or seeing none, HB 911 will be reported as amended. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Mr.